Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you all here in the forum of the public forum of the group exhibit, Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries. We will talk now about fuel cell technology in industry and business. We have partners from the Clean Power Net here on stage. It's going to be a panel discussion, so whenever you would like to participate, please raise your hand. I'll be with the microphone right with you, and you can ask your questions right away. It's all about Clean Power Net, and I would like to introduce you to my interview partners, which is on the opposite of me, Wolfgang Axthammer. He is Program Manager Special Markets of NOW, which is the National Organization of Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technologies. Right next to him sits Mark-Uwe Oßwald. He is founder and managing director of FutureE, Fuel Cell Solutions GmbH. Good to have you here. And right next to me is Michael Entrup. He is head of reserve power at HOPPECKE Batterien GmbH und Co. KG. Good to have you here, Mr. Entrup.
Hello.
So the discussion is open. I have to introduce Clean Power Net a little bit. You've already have a folder on your table. You can have a look inside. It's this folder there. It's from Clean Power Net. And it is a consortium of 24 companies, manufacturers, institutes, users. They're all working on the commercialization of fuel cell systems in the field of information technology, telecommunications, industrial processes, traffic control, and energy supply. Mr. Axthammer, this is a corporation of 24 companies. They are competitors, parts of them, but they're all working together, aren't they?
Yes, they are. As far as there is no customer in sight, they are working together. As soon as they do see a customer, obviously they do go in competition. But it does make sense because there are. It's like you're on the way to the market. On the way to the market, you do have some hurdles which you have to take and some challenges. And you can take the challenge by yourself, but it makes it a lot easier to do the challenge within the group. Once the challenge is out of the way, each company goes its way. And we are working together in the sense of making advertisements, being present on fairs like this fair and user fairs, and working together in the sense of standardization.
When we talk about these markets, it is like backup power.
Yes.
They are competing also, this technology is competing also with diesel gensets. That's the normal way it goes. You know, if you need backup power, you normally take a diesel engine and then you have backup power. But the new technology comes with fuel cells, comes with batteries. This is a clean technology, and they better work together to get into the market. That's the idea behind it, isn't it?
That's why we call it Clean Power Net,
right,
because it's a clean technology, and it makes sense to apply this technology. Economically, it's not yet, or probably you have to look at the specific application. In some applications, probably the gentleman next to me can give details to that. It might already be competitive, in others not yet, but it also depends on the. I mean, it's quite a technology which isn't produced in big numbers, so you of course are not yet in every application competitive.
Mr. Oßwald, you come with a literature tip to us. You've read a very interesting book, which is called Blackout by Mark Ellsberg. You have this book here. What's it all about? Tell us.
Well, Mark Ellsberg, he's a German author, and he wrote a thriller, which is called Blackout. I can highly recommend it to everybody. If you're on a vacation on an island somewhere, read it. And later on, either come to Mr. Axthammer, to Mr. Entrup, or myself and purchase a fuel cell system. Because it's a very interesting story. It's a bestseller here in Germany. And it tells a story that there's a power outage starting somewhere in Italy, and then all of a sudden the countries fall. In some paragraphs it even writes about a wealthy person which has purchased a fuel cell system, and Europe is blackout. But the house of this person is still lighted with a fuel cell system.
And let me guess, he is a fuel cell system. Okay, very good.
So go out and get this book if you're interested in backup power. and fuel cell systems. It's an easy and fascinating read.
Well, Mr. Entrup, tell us how close is this scenario? You know, we all know. Well, the German grid is quite stable right now, but we're heading to the energy transformation. We are heading to switch off the nuclear power plants. We have some of these coal plants are already switched off. So maybe this scenario will come pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, I think so. We are talking quite a lot with the energy suppliers here in Germany. And the German energy suppliers, they do realize that the switch off of the nuclear power plants and some coal-fired plants, this leads sooner or later to some issues where the grid stability is probably not there. And therefore it's right to have a fuel cell at home or battery system at home who's supplying then the energy, and you can run your entire system at home with a battery and a fuel cell. And we have systems available on the market already which can supply this power backup.
Is that probably not at home, because that's quite expensive to have a fuel cell system at home. But I think there are some appliances, some customers of you who really need uninterruptible power supply. For them, it's very important.
Yeah, it is, definitely it is. So especially if we are talking about the telecommunication industry or the security networks all over the world. We do install now a lot of systems here in Germany, a couple of systems, 40 in Brandenburg, where the emergency systems and the police control systems, they are backed up by a small battery system and the fuel cell system. And this complete system is giving a long period for the energy availability. So a couple of days the system is running without any additional backup via diesel generator. It's buffered by a battery system and a fuel cell.
Mr. Oßwald, this is how you call professional mobile radio for security applications that Mr. Entrup said.
Yes.
Police communication and firework communication, they must not rely on the normal grid. If there's a blackout of the grid, they can't work anymore.
Yeah, I guess everybody can imagine that in case of catastrophe or emergency like a blackout, the line of command or the communication is very important to recover and to save lives. So there's a special radio network for the policemen, for the security forces, which in every country is called different. In Germany it's called BOSnet. It's a radio network for the police, fire brigades. In Denmark it's called something with S. In Sine network. In Switzerland it's called Polycom. It's you probably all know these hand equipment for the policemen, and they can communicate even if the power is down. And fuel cells are so interesting for this application because you can store a lot of energy in hydrogen. And the requirement there is, just imagine, there's a power outage in there's a catastrophe, some catastrophe in Friday noon. And typically the experience is it takes up to 3 days to recover, to come back to conclusions what to do. And for this time you need autonomy to communicate. And as hydrogen has a high energy density, it's an ideal means to provide backup power for such a special application. And after then 72 hours is a requirement, for example, here in Brandenburg, as Mr. Entrup mentioned. This is the autonomy time all these fuel cell systems delivered in Brandenburg can provide. And typically after such a time, you have re-established infrastructure that you can provide the fuel which is necessary to continue operation.
I see. So Mr. Entrup, it's not enough to put batteries there. Your main product are batteries, of course, but it's not enough for 72 hours batteries. It's too much, is it?
Yeah, there are some applications on the market, especially in Saudi Arabia, where we have a backup time installed for a couple of days. But definitely 72 amp hours, depending on the load profile, is definitely too much. So therefore we combine the batteries, the storage systems, and the power generation. So it could be a fuel cell, it could be a solar panel, and we combine it in certain applications. So
in best case, Mr. Axthammer, we would have a solar panel, maybe some wind power generation. Yes. Then we need a battery, of course.
Electrolyzer.
Electrolyzer,
yes.
Of course, as well, to produce the hydrogen. We need a hydrogen storage tank then.
Correct.
And a fuel cell to repower it.
So then you're off-grid. then you
we're
have an
completely off-grid.
off-grid solution.
And off money as well, huh?
Oh, depending on how you deal with the customer. But I guess it's rather difficult.
So is that what you're selling your customers, Mr. Oßwald?
Yeah, we sell fuel cell systems and also solutions. And one solution, for example, or not just one, solution we have sold to E+ is an off-grid power supply solution for a mobile base station here in the vicinity in the city of Büren. It's a base station located totally on the countryside. There's no cable to it. And it's powered.
They're off-grid regions in Germany still, yes? Obviously.
Well, you could play a cable, but there's a business case. If you put a cable to the ground, the CTO of E+ has said, on average, and depending on the ground and the property structure, it costs you about around 75,000 euro per kilometer putting a cable to the ground. And as you have a cable to the ground, you also then, of course, have a bill to the power utility paying for the power. So if you take this money and invest it in a solar panel, in a wind turbine, in a fuel cell, in a battery, and you're not just green, actually there is also, you can even make a business case depending on how far the next grid connection is away. And we have done that. We have done it now 2 times. And it's running, the first system is running now for 2 years, totally off-grid, 0 emissions. And it's fantastic. It's more complex, but it's 0 emissions, and also the maintenance required is very low, because all these is not moving components besides the wind turbine. It's electrochemistry mainly and solar panels.
Yeah, but Mr. Axthammer, for these projects they got some funding, haven't they?
Exactly, and that's what we're glad for, that there is the National Innovation Program for Hydrogen and Fuel Cell. The government, the Ministry for Traffic and Digital Infrastructure is funding these projects. And it gives us a chance to get a reference, to get a case, a showcase, a business case, and to try a business case and to get a showcase for the companies who do apply the fuel cells in this solution. They can, I mean, this is a special solution, as you correctly say. There aren't many areas in Germany which aren't off-grid. Mainly you're on-grid. Either you might have bad grid in the one or the other case, which is rather seldom in Germany. But we are looking at companies like countries like India or Middle East or emerging markets, which do have rather bad grid either, or are off-grid, like Africa. I mean, there's no way to put cables there in the next cable, or if you have a station, base station, and you want to get a cable to this base station, I mean, it's going to cost a fortune.
That's an interesting point, I think, Mr. Entrup. You are busy in many countries in the world who haven't got the grid that Germany has. In these countries, you also need funding to implement it, or it's just no other way than to implement an off-grid power supply?
That's what you're saying. There's definitely no other way to install such applications. So especially if we are looking to the Middle East region or to Central Russia, there are countries and regions where we do not have any power backup systems available. And there we have installed already a couple of systems who are backing up the telecom equipment.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the big market for you actually, or is Germany still a big market? What do you think?
Both, but the growing markets are the new markets in these regions. Even as Wolfgang Axthammer mentioned, India, Africa is an important market, the Southeast Asia market, but there are a lot of systems and customers who do see the opportunity really to invest in such systems and run their own power backup system. And especially, as I mentioned, in the Russian countries, they are a definite growing market now. It's very interesting to be there.
I would like to invite you, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll be with the microphone right with you, and you can give your question right to my panelists here. That's not the case. I would like to ask you, Mr. Oßwald, you're the specialist for fuel cells. You're providing the system with the fuel cells and the whole system. It's not only the fuel cell. You also have to manage the fuel cell. You have to tell them when to go on and to go off. It's the whole energy system you're providing, aren't you?
Yes. Our core competency indeed is the fuel cell or the fuel cell system. And we either provide fuel cell systems and solutions to large customers like Deutsche Telekom or E+, or we collaborate with partners, especially in foreign countries. Because we are just a small company. We were a startup company 7 years ago. We are still relatively small, so we need partnerships. But the energy management, that's for example a part where we today collaborate with Heliocentris. You know, they are established for energy management solutions. So that's the benefit also of this clean power network. For example, here beside my Mr. Entrup, we are competitors on the fuel cell system, but we purchase batteries from them, and our fuel cell solutions, so the turnkey solutions, are serviced by HOPPECKE because they have the network. And so the competency really is not making all yourself. I guess everybody has itself core competency in one certain component or subsystem. Ours is a fuel cell system. But the other competency is finding the right partners for the various services and other systems, making it a complete system. And that's where this Clean Power Net really helps.
Yes, Mr. Entrup.
As you mentioned, so that's really the combination. That's really the combination, because we are since 85 years in the business. So our core business is, of course, battery business. We're producing batteries, different types of batteries, but the combination, and as you say, customers are expecting then a global service, a European-wide service. And with our entire service network, we have 250 service people, at least in Germany, or only in Germany, and in Far East, even some persons on top. So we can do the complete service for such systems and other systems. And that's what the customer is requiring, as I said. So we need to have an entire system installed, which is running and operating 24 hours, 7 days. And we do have to service, let's say, once a year, depending on the running time of the system. So it's quite a stable system and well established since a couple of years already.
If I may add, I mean, the benefit of fuel cell systems is also that they require very little maintenance. For example, in our latest tender, we participated in a tender here in Germany for fuel cell systems. We even offered a biannual service because it's electrochemistry. I mean, you know about electrochemistry. But meanwhile, we have achieved such a maturity level, also thanks to the funding and support here from NOW, that we can offer that we have such a high confidence that we can offer service, go ahead with service contracts which only require biannual services requirements. And that's a certain, beside being clean power net, that's also a definite benefit compared to diesel generators. If you would require for a high availability solution for professional mobile radio a diesel generator, you would spend a lot of money for maintaining and running test runs to have the availability of the system.
Off-grid often means also off-road, so it's far away out there, and you have to maintain it. This is very costly, isn't it?
That's a good sample. So there are some regions even in Central Europe where no speed limits, or where speed limits are there and the government cannot control the speed limit. So they are looking for individual power supply systems who can supply the energy, and they are installing speed cameras. And that is a crazy business model behind, because they are saying, okay, the investment is just a couple of €1,000, but the earnings back from the speed control system, it's giving us a payback time of, let's say, half a year or even less. So therefore, there are a couple of systems already all over the place installed now where really the fuel cell technology powered with solar and with batteries are giving the constant power to run the speed cameras.
Mr. Axthammer, you said you need some reference projects to show the technology is working, and you have already some reference projects with Clean Power Net. How many are there and where are they? Please tell us.
Well, actually, we are glad that we do have these projects, but they don't come by themselves. So you have to find potential users like, unfortunately, Dr. Mansell is not here, E+, big telecommunication company, or the German telecom daughter company is the PASM, which are telecommunication companies who say, this is an interesting technology. We do have the strategy to serve our customers best as we can with the best technology, and not only economically, also ecologically. So CO2, climate, greenhouse gas, and this is in discussion even on the telecommunications.
It's also important for the image, of course, yes.
Yes, and we do have countries like Brandenburg who do have the professional mobile radio for the fire workers, for the police, who say we have to also go in a leadership and apply new technology. We can't do it by ourselves, cost-wise. So we're glad we have on the one side, the one who wants to apply the new technology. On the other hand, we have the government, the German government, who says, for this new technology, which in a couple of applications isn't competitive yet, we do give funding. And therefore, we have, like in Brandenburg, we have a big showcase with 116 fuel cell units being applied on base stations for the professional mobile radio within the next 2 years. So this is it's a sensitive, very sensitive application, and I think it's a very good showcase and a good chance for the German industry and manufacturers to get a showcase on the one hand, and a reference, and on the other hand, to get an economy of scale instead of delivering 1 or 2 fuel cells in a quarter of a year, to have a little, sag mal, Los, ein größeres Los.
Bigger portion.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So, but this is the upcoming project. The projects you have realized already. You were talking about it, Mr. Oßwald. Were in Büren. You installed 2 or 3.
One in Versmold, one in Büren. 2 off-grid fuel cell systems together with solar panel, wind turbine, batteries.
Yeah.
So that's already established now. The first one more than 2 years. Second one more than a year ago.
Yeah.
We also installed several fuel cell systems with Deutsche Telekom, which they use to protect their network nodes. Yeah. But they don't only use it to protect the network nodes, they also use it to participate in the smart grid. For example, Deutsche Telekom, they have a vast amount of batteries and diesel generators, 10,000 locations, roughly, across Germany. And so they also do peak power shaving and participate in the minute reserve markets with their backup machines. And the fuel cell systems which we supplied into them, they are also used to participate in minute reserve and peak power shaving. So, you know, when one site goes into peak power demand, for example, because an air conditioner is starting, then the power utilities, they have to provide this power at all time, because they don't know when the peak is coming. So typically you pay more to have this availability. And we installed a measurement on a system which measures, you know, when is the peak coming, and then the fuel cell system is triggered to bridge, to cut the peak. And by doing that, with a very little investment in hydrogen and operational expenses, you can create a significant benefit to the telecom, but not just to the telecom in terms of money, but also to the grid operator, because they don't. If everybody would do that, we wouldn't need these reserves in the grid to that extent that we have it today. So overall, we could increase the efficiency of our grid.
I think it's both sides. Either when you have peaks in the net, you can take them out and put them in batteries, for instance. Yeah. And if you need more power, you can switch on the backup power fuel cells.
Yes.
Are you already doing that, Mr. Entrup?
Yeah, as we heard, some telecom operators are really focusing on this kind of business. Even the energy suppliers in Germany, they do have huge battery banks installed, and they bring the batteries to a lower level of start charge, and they balancing the batteries and the energy which is available at this daytime, probably wind and solar. So they are buffering the net if the net is not stable enough. So, and as we heard, even fuel cells in combination, let's say as a smart grid, probably they do buffer even the energy if there's not enough energy available. So our customers are actually doing this, and this is quite a new trend in the market. And there's a tendency really to install their new systems, chargers, batteries in combination with fuel cells.
How big is the potential, Mr. Oßwald? Because there are not so many backup powers in the grid now, but maybe there will be more soon.
Well, don't be mistaken. I'm not sure if I quoted right, but I remember Rittal a few years ago, they were saying they've analyzed the backup power market, and in general they said about 10% of our capacity in Germany is backupped. Whatever the number is, but it's certainly enough for us. And I guess also in other developed countries it's similar.
Yeah,
so there's a replacement potential here, and especially in critical communication, infrastructure services, but also industry. But there's also the largest potential, the largest growth potential is, of course, in the countries which we mentioned earlier, like in Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia, you know, because here it's essentially replacement. And here it's about quality of life or security, clean power net. Also, fortunately, we are in a society where we can work on putting more value to our quality of life, you know, making it cleaner and more secure, and by providing longer backup autonomy times. But the volume business is, of course, in these growth countries, and it's so great that we can offer now to technologies which can allow these countries also a leapfrog approach, you know, by going directly to the next level, like in the mobile communication, you know, like the cell phones. We can also, in terms of backup power supply, hopefully we can contribute that we can skip the internal combustion engine and go directly to a clean fuel cell / electrochemical based solution.
Mr. Axthammer, I introduced you as the program manager of special markets. I could have also said early markets, isn't it? So maybe the fuel cell technology will step into market and these special markets first.
Early markets, if you could look to countries like India, there is an early market. For instance, there's one telecommunication network system solution provider who has just given an order for 4,000 systems, fuel cell systems. So there is quite an early market, not only a special market. And special markets, to explain this in this forum, is also considering applications like forklift, like leisure market. This is special. This is the begriff, the headline special market.
Okay, it's rather broader.
Rather broader.
The clean power net is a special application of
backup power.
I see. Yes.
And even there, if you look at it, backup power, you have different markets like telecommunication, which we focus on in the clean power net. This is the most important market in this segment, and this is the market where the companies who do offer the systems already do have business running and contacts. And so we focus on that. And further within the next years, we might focus on traffic applications. Like look at Fraport. It's one of the biggest, or it's the biggest airport in Germany who has backup power. He needs backup power. I mean, can you imagine if the radar doesn't work anymore or whatever? I mean, you don't want to consider even that. So they need lots of backup power. There is potential, even in Germany.
Indeed, yes. And in these special markets, also you, Mr. Entrup, are in with your cooperation with Truma. You have fuel cells running with propane gas.
We do have.
These are applications for, like, say, caravans, aren't they?
Yeah, originally the fuel cell was produced for the caravan industry. But we do have seen some applications for signaling, as I mentioned before, traffic control systems, where you have a small power, or where the need for a small power backup system is there, and in regions where propane is only available. So therefore the H2 doesn't apply in this case, so therefore we have this relationship with Truma, where we combine all the components as a system, and this is a real backup system for small powered traffic control system.
I would like to give you the opportunity, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll be right with you with a microphone. If that's not the case, I would like to tell you that we have this afternoon in our technical forum, we have from 2 to 4 p.m. Clean Power Net with 10 different presentations from partners at the technical forum. Mr. Axthammer, what can we expect then? What presentations will we hear then? Just some examples.
If you want to buy a fuel cell for your backup application, you must go there, because this is the very chance to at a very defined time slot to hear a couple of manufacturers and to compare their systems and to listen to their advantages. So I can only recommend you, and if I may advise you, to go there. So I'm quite happy that we, as Clean Power Net, as we combine these competitors, have them together and have them in the technical forum to get you to know the different applications and the advantages of the different manufacturers.
Right, and that's like the kick-off for this afternoon. It starts at 2 p.m. at our technical forum just over there, and I would also like to advise you to visit the booth of Clean Power Net on the booth of NOW, of course, just over there, just 2 booths far in that direction. I would like to thank you very much for this discussion here on stage, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.